Okay, good morning, everybody. We are in Parashat Balak. Interesting parasha, which brings us to a very interesting point. A lot of people say, if you show me miracles and if you show me God, then I'm going to believe in Him and I'm going to do all the mitzvahs. So in our parasha, we have a proof that you can believe in God and get to the highest level of believing, like Bilam Arasha. Bilam says, Yodea Da'at Elyon. I know I've got a connection to God. And God, and they say, Lokam Israel ke Moshe Od, that there was nobody like Moshe Rabbeinu in Am Israel. So the Gemara says, in Am Israel there was nobody like Moshe Rabbeinu, but the Goyim had. Who was it? Bilam Arasha. How can we compare Bilam Arasha to Moshe Rabbeinu? It's a question by itself, but we'll see in a minute. First thing is to know, in order for the Goyim not to come and say, you know what? Okay, it's not fair. You gave Am Israel Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's the reason they are Am Israel, and they did everything that is written in the Torah, and they are your nation. You didn't give us somebody like this. If you would have given us somebody like Moshe Rabbeinu, we would also be like Am Israel. So God tells them, sorry to tell you, I gave you. And this is Bilam Arash. And this brings us to a few interesting conclusions. One is that there is a connection between the leader and the people. In other words, there is always something that is banding, that is putting together the leader with the people. If the leader is a good leader, it means that the people are also good. If the leader is no good, it means that the people are no good. And the influence normally comes from down from the people. Because if you live in a good society, in a nice neighborhood, the good influence is influencing on you to develop in the right way. But if you are in a corrupt environment, the corruption is also going to corrupt you. And I don't want to go into politics, but we see this happening all the time. Very good people, when they go into politics, suddenly something happens to them. Now, who is to blame? They are to blame? Maybe. They have something in it. But unfortunately, as we see here, the blame is on us, on the people. Because when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to the mountain of Sinai and Am Israel sinned with a golden calf, what did God say? Red kishimchet amcha, go down. What does it mean, go down? Go down from your high level and lower yourself because your people are now sinning and you are connected to them. So if your people are at a, let's say, went down to this unbelievable level, you also go with them. Red, go down. In other words, if we think like this, so, and we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was an unbelievable prophet, or it means that also the people were unbelievable. That the nation, the generation of the desert, they were Dodeah, they were called Dodeah, they were very, very attached and connected to God. The same way as Moshe Rabbeinu. So how is it that they sin all the time and all the things that happen all the time? Because we cannot understand the level we're talking about. The level we're talking about is a different level. In other words, at their level, at their high, holy level, every small thing is a great sin, which in our case, it will even sometimes be a mitzvah. It's like, I always say, it's like you have a diamond and you have scrap. Like a diamond, if there is a small thing in it, it's already damaged. But if you have rubbish, even if there is in this rubbish, you buy like scrap, like metal scrap and things like this. So even if there is something missing, it's very cheap. It's nothing. It's nothing to look at it. If 1 gram is missing from metal scrap that you're buying, nobody's going to look at it. But if 1 gram is missing in a diamond, wow. And that's exactly the point. And when talking about Am Israel, it's a diamond, an unbelievable shining diamond. So every small thing, every small dot is better because at that level, everything is important, even a small thing. And this brings us to Bilam and Balak. When we look at the surface, it looks like Bilam is doing exactly what God is telling him. So first of all, when we see what they're doing, we understand that Bilam had the potential of Moshe Rabbeinu. Unfortunately, because the people he was involved, the society he was involved with, was a corrupt society. So all these great things that he got from God, all this great level, instead of taking it up to God, he took it down. For example, who could imagine that somebody come to parents and tells them, you know what, I want to kill your son. Do you give me a permission? I want to hit your son. Do you give me a permission? What a stupid thing. What do you think? The parents are going to let you hit their child? Harm your child? Touch him? Do something bad to him? Of course not. So how is it that Bilam comes to God and asks him to curse Am Israel, the children of God? Just showing you how corrupt this guy was and how distorted he was. He says, Tamot nafshi mot yesharim tiyah hariti kamoa. I want to die as straight as Am Israel. Yes? In other words, this guy thinks that he deserves to die and get Olam Haba. He knew there is Olam Haba. To live with God and do what God asked you to do, like to be, let's say, a believer and do the mitzvahs and be a good man in life. That's not. He's running after his lust, after his desires, and he's doing all those terrible things. But to die? Yeah, he wants to die like Am Israel. And the Or HaChaim HaKadosh explained that it's not like dying like Am Israel. He wanted to die like the tzaddikim. Mot Yesharim, that's the straight ones, those who didn't sin at all. This corrupt guy. And on the surface, when we look at it, when we look at the story, we see, for example, when we look, so Balak, he sends messengers to Bilam Arash. And look what's happened. I sends the messenger to Bilam. And he tells them, you know, there is the people that got out of Egypt. I want you to curse them because they are going to finish me off. So I want to get him out of the land. So the messengers come to Bilam and they talk to him. Stay here tonight and I will talk with God, and what God is going to tell me, that's what I'm going to do. And God reveals himself to Bilam at night, and he says, who are those people? And Bilam is saying, Balak, send me those people, and the people are going out, he wants to curse me. Says God, you are not going with them. You're not going to curse them because they are blessed. What is Bilam doing? And he gets it up in the morning and tells to the messengers of Balak, go back. God doesn't let me go with you. So they get up and they go back and they tell Balak, sorry. So Balak thinks, maybe I send, the level of the messenger I send is too low for Bilam. I'll send him ministers, high rank of messengers. He sent a lot of very important messengers. And they come to Bilam and says, Balak says, I'm going to honor you and give you whatever you want and whatever you, just go and curse those people. What is Bilam saying? I'm sorry. Balak, even if you give me the full house with money and gold, I cannot do what God doesn't want me to do. Not small and not big. And you know what? Sit here tonight and I will know, maybe God will talk with me again. Maybe God changed his mind. So God reveals himself to Bilam and tells him, if the people came to you for you to call you, go with them. But you're going to say exactly what I'm telling you to say. When Bilam gets up and he takes his donkey and he goes with the ministers of Moab, and God is furious, he's angry. Why is he going? And the angel stands there. And before we go on with the story, we want to understand what is going on here. First of all, it looks like Bilam Rasha is not a Rasha. He's a tzaddik. Yes, he's got something wrong with him, wanting to curse Am Yisrael. But he's doing exactly what God is telling him to do. So what's wrong? What's going on here? And then why is God telling him, first night, don't go with them. The second night, go with them. And then after he tells him to go with them, he sends an angel to stop him. What's going on here? Should he go? Shouldn't he go? And why one day God is telling him go, the next not don't go, and the next day don't go. And then when he tells him to go, he is trying to stop him on the way. The real truth is that if we look at this on the surface, it looks like really Bilam Rasha is really doing what God is telling him to do, because afterwards also we see the blessing that he's blessing Am Yisrael, and this is one of the most well-known blessing. Matovu alecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Israel. We all know it, and this blessing was said by Bilam Rasha. Let's think for a little. As we said in the beginning, is it logical that somebody will come and ask parents a permission to hit their child or to harm their child? Definitely no. No logic. That's what Bilam is doing. Then, why is God telling him not to go and then to go? Or Chaim HaKadosh explains a beautiful thing. First of all, he wanted to show the whole nation, the whole people, that the leash of the dog is in the hands of the owner. In other words, it's like God is telling Bilam what to do. Now, if he tells him not to go, how does it look? That maybe God is afraid from the power of Bilam, the power of the curse of Bilam, that he can damage Chas v'Sholom Am Yisrael, and that's why he's not letting him to go. So what is God doing? The next night he tells him, go, but you will say exactly what I'm saying. So now the people see that from one side, 1 minute, God tells him not to go, he doesn't go. Then, if you think he's afraid, no, God is not afraid from Bilam. He sends him and he tells him, you're going to say exactly what I'm saying. So why is he stopping him now? Because when you look at it, he is telling him, if they came to call you Lecha, Lecha is normally when it's like Lech Lecha, it was said to Abraham Avinu, if it's for your own benefit. In other words, God is telling him, check, you have the powers, you have the prophecy power. Check and see if this is good for you, what you're doing. But Bilam Rasha doesn't care if it's good or not. He cares about one thing only, to curse Am Yisrael. And this is why God is furious. This is why God is angry. You don't even check if it's good for you or not. I am trying to save you because you know me and you listen to me. Listen to me. And still you go to do something not logical? And then if you think that Balak doesn't believe in God, Balak also is a believer. And here in a minute we'll see it. ויבוא אליו ינון צפל לאותו בשרי מואב איתו ויאמר לו בלק, מה דיבר השם? Like when it comes like the second time, the third time, I don't remember now, I have to check it. It says, what did God tell you? And then afterwards, I will take you to another place. This is the third time. I take you to another place. Maybe God will like the place, and there you can curse Am Yisrael. So we see that Balak also is believing in God. And by the way, when we look at the name of Balak and Bilam, you will see a very interesting thing. Bilam, the two last words are Ayin Mem. And Balak, the two last words are Lamed. If you connect it together, you have Amalek. Amalek. In other words, Balak and Bilam are a nice couple. Together they have inside their names the name of Amalek. But here it's something puzzling. 1 minute. Here we see those two people, Balak and Bilam, they believe in God. And Amalek didn't believe in God. Or maybe here we'll learn another interesting thing. That Amalek also believed in God, but he didn't like the idea. It was disturbing him in the way of life he lived. So he went against it. So we learn here a big lesson. Balak, Bilam, Amalek, they all know there is a God, and they still go against God. In other words, a believer is not necessarily somebody who's going to keep the mitzvahs and doing the right in the eyes of God. You can believe in God and still do the wrong. In other words, you have to connect your belief with the knowledge, with your neshama. You have to connect what you know with your heart. You have to be connected in order to do. As Abraham Avinu said to Abimelech, רק אין יראת אלוקים במקום הזה והרגוני הדבר אשתי. There is only one thing missing with you. The fear of God. There is no fear of God. And because there is no fear of God, even if you have good manners and behave unbelievably, you are, the minute it's going to affect you personally, you're going to kill me. And this is exactly what happened with the Nazis, Yimach Shemam v'Zichram. They were the first to give the Jews the freedom of choosing and doing whatever they want like any other citizen. They were the most cultured nation in the world at that time. Manners of the German were well known all over the world. And those people that from one side looked like the greatest nation became beasts. Worse than beasts, and did those unbelievable things, trying to destroy Am Yisrael, torturing, hitting, killing. What happened? What is Yirat Elokim? What is the fear of God? So people think fear of God is to be afraid of God. No, that's exactly the mistake. It's loving God. It's understanding the greatness of God and how great He is. And from this point, to have this fright, to be afraid that the connection with God will, chas v'sholom, be disconnected. We want the best connection with God, and this is why we want to do whatever God tells us to do. In other words, it's not only to believe, it's the love of God connected to the fear of God. This is what makes Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael. And this is the difference between us and others. There can be believers, but still do the wrong in the eyes of God because they want to go after their lust. And we see this in the all, and we learn about the power of Yetzer Hara in our Parsha in an unbelievable way. when we look, we see so many unbelievable things. I'm looking for something in a minute if I find it. One point I wanted to say, I have to talk about it, is what exactly is happening here from our point of view. Because we understand Balak, Bilam, Amalek, Moshe Rabbeinu, they're all inside us. They're all really trying to teach us the way to behave and what do we have to be aware of and to be getting away as far as we can. There is an idea, living the moment. לחיות את הרגע. And this is exactly what we're talking about, Bilam, Balak, and Amalek. They are living the moment. They know the truth, they don't care about it. It's like this guy who wants to fly. So he goes on the 70th floor, and he flies. He flies for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then he's down there dead. But he lived the moment. It's so stupid to say. And I want to read to you what somebody wrote, a philosopher, which is called Alan Watts, a famous philosopher, and he says, אם אתם מתעקשים להיות מונעים, if you want to be, how do you say, מונעים, be led, and be different, like מוגדרים על ידי העבר, you want to go and be, how do you say, I don't know how you say, and to be stated like by the past, to be like, you want to live with the past, it's your game. But the fact is that everything starts now. But we like to have a connection with the past because it gives people, other people, the sense that we have a sense in our mind. We are logical. But when we talk about freedom from karma, a freedom from to be a puppet of the past, it's just a change in our mind. In other words, you're getting rid of this, to be used to think the way that you describe yourself as a result of what happened before. And instead, you got it into a different way of thinking, which is more logical and more reasonable, where you don't explain or declare yourself in a matter of what I did in the past, but in matter of what I'm doing now. Now, if you notice, the whole idea here is me. And like to disconnect what connected me with the past, and I don't care about what's going to happen in the future. I'm living now, and that's what I want to do. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says very clearly, "Da me'ayin bata ule'an ata holech." Know where you came from and where you're going. A few years ago, I knew a drug addict, and he came to ask for tzedakah. And what did he do right afterwards? He went and bought drugs. How do I know? Because they found him a few days later dead. So he lived the moment. The drugs gave him a few moments of highlights, but then it was finished. As I said with the guy that flew from the 70th floor, this is what Bilam is doing, but he's asking for a future. Kamot nafshi mot yesharim. I want to die like Am Israel. I want olam haba. I looked through the internet. I saw an interesting thing that is related to Buddha. The secret of health of the body and the soul is not mourning on the past and care about the future, but live the moment of the present with wisdom and intent in a full intention. Sounds good, but we all see doesn't work. And there are a lot of examples if you think about it. Somebody who is diabetic and he sees the beautiful cake and he wants to eat it. He's going to eat it. So he's going to enjoy for a minute and then he's going to pay for it. Take drugs to feel high. Go on 120 kilometers an hour in the middle of town. Wow, I'm riding, I'm racing. And then you kill yourself and kill other people. And this is what we do every day, running after our desires. Knowing there is a God, believing in God, and still doing those stupid things that are going to lead us to a bad place. And this is Bilam HaRasha. And this is the big lesson that we have to take from our parsha. Yes, by the way, it's very important. The moment now is very important. The most important time in your life is now. But know where you came from and where you're going to. You live the moment connected to the past and connecting yourself to the future. This is the idea of our belief, to believe that we are connected to God with our past, with the present, and with the future. And we can live the future only if we connect to the past in looking to the future. If you live the moment, because this is the moment and there is nothing before and nothing after, this is Bilam HaRasha. Knowing God, but going in the wrong way, because he runs after his lust, after his desires. So let us all learn this big lesson and understand that living the moment is a stupid say if it's not connected to the past and the future. Living the moment, connecting to the past and to the future, this is the right way to live. Because now, this moment is the most important moment in life. Because now I can do things. Now I can change things. Now I can go in the right direction. How do I do it? Only if I connect myself to the past and to the future. Have a nice day. All the best for everybody.
Thank you, Gadi.
You're welcome.